Did you do your own polling like Fire Dog Lake did polling? Did you?
Oh no, I don't campaign in the off year. I don't raise money. I don't spend money. I don't. I mean, I don't raise money or spend money on political stuff. I don't campaign. I don't worry much about. I wasn't. I never opposed.
Did you have any surprise? Were you surprised at all at the results of that poll?
I really
haven't. Did you put any
I
credence?
got to be honest with you. I hadn't really read the. You were talking about it earlier. I hadn't read.
Right.
They didn't send me a copy of it. I'm not. That wasn't a factor in the decision not to run for re-election, and I've been behind in polls before, and.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's still being sorted out. And it's democracy is an ongoing process, and we can talk more about that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do know is that the need for something to happen has not gone away. Whether you're a small business person or a big international corporation trying to compete internationally, or you have health insurance and you like it and you don't want it to change, your premiums continue to go up much faster than your wages.
Right.
Or if you're somebody who has a pre-existing condition and you get dinged, or you're on Medicare. Medicare is not sustainable. We haven't figured out how to handle the onslaught of my generation of baby boomers. So we had this election in Massachusetts. We clearly have had the wind blowing, sending some signals that there's a lot of Americans that have apprehensions about these specific plans and proposals. But if you take them off the table, it does not change the fact that our current system doesn't work for the American people like it should. It doesn't work for millions of people, even those who have health insurance.
Massachusetts. One article I read just stated, as a matter of fact, that he won because people don't want Medicare slashed. And that was how it was reported. Now, did the health reform bills slash Medicare?
No, and that's one of the discouraging parts of this whole discussion. Let me say, first of all, with regard to health care in Massachusetts, healthcare plays differently in Massachusetts because they have a system.
They have it.
And one of the things he was able to say is, I'm going to go to Washington and oppose this plan because we've already done it in Massachusetts, and he voted for it as a state senator, and why should we have to help the rest of the country do what we could be doing? So it's when I talk about a strong win, I'm recognizing that he is a vote against it, but it's a bit peculiar coming out of Massachusetts because they do have a plan that, in fact, is quite similar to the basic framework that we've been talking about. Here's the issue of Medicare. If we don't do anything, we need to address Medicare. And it is not sustainable. We know it's not sustainable. And where is the U.S. Chamber, and where are my Republican friends who used to talk about entitlement reform and when we're going to streamline things and when we're going to get more efficient? Well, the House bill really does look at that and address it, and I think will take us in the right direction. And so when they talk about, is it going to, cutting benefits? No, it's going to do things more efficiently and safer. Best example, if we can figure out how to prevent readmission to the hospital after someone gets out of the hospital, we can save billions of dollars. That's one of the things that gets addressed in the bill. If we can figure out how to do better information technology, we can save all kinds of money but make people safer. So you get better care for a better price. And so when I hear somebody talk about they're slashing Medicare and going to cut benefits, that is not accurate. In fact, we're going to improve benefits and make it safer.
What's going to happen in the midterm elections?
I don't know. There's a lot of time between now and then. I think that Democrats around the country and in Washington need to hear what the American people are saying. We haven't done anything wrong in terms of the last 6 or 8 months trying to talk about this problem, I think, and talk about the proposals. But at some point you have to say, enough Americans are not buying this, that we can't say it's their fault. I'm not shouting loud. What discourages me the most, and we saw these ads running in Arkansas, U.S. Chamber ads, U.S. Chamber ads specifically talk about cutting Medicare. They may have changed it by now, but just a couple of weeks ago, last time we checked, you go to the U.S. Chamber website,
mm-hmm.
and there's a section there on entitlement reform. Where are the leaders of courage, the political leaders of courage that will talk about entitlement reform and how we need to make Medicare more efficient and save money? Where are they? Well, the U.S. Chamber knows exactly where they are because they're targeting us with their radio ads and TV ads. So it's so dishonest, I think, from the U.S. Chamber because they have been calling for finding ways of doing things more efficiently, and yet that's part of this bill. So I think we have worked very, very hard at trying to be sure that whatever final bill we would have would not run up the deficit, but would in fact help our national fiscal situation. I think we've tried very hard. That's been very important to the Democrats, very important to the president. Now, there are people out there, though, who say you can't do a program of this magnitude without putting at risk the fiscal health of the country. That's not a perception issue. That's a legitimate point of view, which is you can't predict very well. We didn't predict very well what happened in 1997 with the Balanced Budget Act of 1997, and it saved far more money than we thought it was going to. That's what led to those surpluses in fiscal years 98, 99, and 2000, where we were paying down debt. Alan Greenspan had to testify he thought we were going to pay down debt so rapidly it might hurt the economy. I mean, these dream days, surpluses as far as the eye can see. Then President Bush comes in April of 2001, passes an economic plan and a tax plan that I thought was disastrous for the country and took us back into the deficit,
So
soup.
the best.
And also, Leslie, things like the mandate. I think it's going to be difficult to solve our problems in this country unless everyone is in the game. And just like car insurance, we have a mandate because all of our hospitals will take care of the people when they come in. I think it's very clear that we need to have a mandate that people have health insurance.
This ruling that the Supreme Court about campaign finance and what do you think about that? What is that going to?
I think it's potentially disastrous for people who want to have their views expressed who are not wealthy.
Yeah.
But I want some time to digest it, and we'll have opportunity to do that over the next days and weeks. By the way, this is a bipartisan concern. I mean, John McCain was the leader of this bill. But if I understand the basic premise of the court, and it was a 5-4 vote, that it turned on the fact that we're going to treat corporations that they have their First Amendment rights are so strong that they can spend as much money as they want in political campaigns, and that's.
I mean, some people would argue that the corporations already are running the country.
I think it's very ominous about what the ramifications are. So, you're sitting in this office and somebody comes in from American Flag Corporation, and they're lobbyists and they want something, and I disagree with them, and they have the ability then just to send the signal, we need to pop in. Let's buy $100,000 radio ads against him next week. We'll go visit him 3 weeks later and see if he's changed his tune.
Right.
I think that's the reality of what can occur. And